Welcome, everybody. Mike Martinez and Sensei Juan today in another episode of Born to Win Conversations, guys. We're going to be talking about how to take 2021 at a whole new level and make success your game. Sensei, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Sure.
Okay, welcome back. Again, Mike Martinez and Sensei Juan. Sensei is talking to you from New York. I'm talking to you from New
Yep.
Jersey. And Sensei, everything good?
Everything is good, man. Thank God. I mean, listen, I got my day job, I got my dojo, so I'm blessed. I have my family. We live in America, so which is always a good blessing. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I always count that as part of my blessing.
yeah.
You know.
Well, you know what? I
You
think today's topic is going to be interesting because, you know, although we're in America and it's the greatest country in the world, we've seen a lot of chaos over the last, I don't know, 8 or 9 months, and sometimes people feel lost, or sometimes they feel like, man, I don't know, I feel like I'm out of control. And today's topic is about the paradox of success and how, sometimes success isn't exactly what we think it is, right?
right. Absolutely. I think that unfortunately, a lot of people get this image of how their life is going to turn out. They're going to go to college, they're going to get a job, they're going to climb the corporate ladder, they're going to make $1 million. It's going to, it may require some work, but they really think that it's a straight climb. When you and I know it's not. We have our own businesses. We've faced a lot of challenges, and we realize that a lot of times you find yourself going backwards instead of forward. All right. And that's just one of the parts of success that I don't think a lot of people are ready for. And especially this new generation where, and I'm not being overly critical, but there's a lot of babying. They got the safe space. You got all this political correctness. You got, if Johnny doesn't get a trophy right away, they want to blame the coach. And, they grow up like that they should receive a participation trophy just for effort, where you and I know that, success is not just about effort, it's about producing results that the marketplace is willing to pay for, you know. And a lot of times we get caught up, well, I did my best effort, I believe in this, but if nobody else wants to pay for your product or for your services, you got to come at it from a different angle. What do you think, Mike?
Very interesting that you bring that up because we're both martial artists. I'm kind of like a retired martial artist. You're still active in the arts, but we both know that you don't advance until you advance, right?
Right,
It's not
right,
just okay, I'll go to the classes once a month or once a week or whatever. You actually have to accomplish certain things. You have to kind of put the sweat in and put the time and
right,
take the
right,
punches and the kicks, and sometimes those things are painful, right? And sometimes they don't work out, like you said, the way that we want them to. And it's something that a lot of people uh they really, when they hit the hard part or they hit the problem part, they don't look up and say, all right, I could get out of this. All right, I could. Some people just say, oh, this is not for me. Let me just give up. We know, as martial artists, we know that you got to go out there and sometimes take the punch in the gut and get winded and still continue to
right,
fight, right? Because that's the way it
right.
is. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of very interesting correlations that we can come up with. But I'll tell you this, man. You know, another thing that I look at, and I like your definition of what is hard work for you. What do you consider hard work?
For me, I think is giving 1,000% in what I love. Okay, that's one. But also hard work for me is waking up every day doing a job that I don't want to do. That doesn't provide me with self-fulfillment. And you and I had talked about it, and I thought about it a lot more because everybody talks about hard work. And if you're working at what you love and you're passionate about what you love and you get a sense of fulfillment from what you do, yeah, you got to put 1,000% effort. You may put in 16, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. You may go without a vacation for 4 or 5 years. And other people may see that as hard work, but really you're just pursuing your passion. That's living, for me, that's living passionate. But now you and I going to a job that you hate every day, that doesn't provide you any satisfaction, any sense of fulfillment at all, that to me is hard work, man. That to me it is like a form of enslavement. That's just how
Hmm.
I feel.
Yeah, and you know what? We like you said, we had discussed this topic before, man. Because and you explained it totally perfect for me, right? Um, because I see hard work just that way. When you love what you're doing, you just engulfed in it. You're just in 100% in it. You're just putting in the time,
Right,
and you know,
right,
working 16 hours is not a big deal because you love it. I mean,
right,
it's,
right,
you know, okay, I'll sleep 8 hours, but I'm putting those 16 hours in there.
right.
Now that could be considered hard work for somebody looking at it from the outside, but also I mean, the other part of hard work is people that are doing what they absolutely hate, right?
Yep,
They
yep.
they absolutely hate this thing. Oh my God, I can't take it, and they do a lot of it because sometimes that's just the way it is. But you're miserable throughout that time. Now, I understand. Don't get me wrong. I understand that even when you're doing what you love, there's times when you're going to do things that you don't you're not,
Right,
you
right,
know,
right,
absolutely enamored in, right?
right.
But but you have to put that little discipline in order to get that other part that you really love doing, right? So I mean, there's a
Right,
certain
right.
balance there. The issue with me is I see the people that succeed at the highest level are people that are going out there and just totally engulfed with what they're doing because they absolutely love it, right? And so to
Right,
you and
right,
me, we say,
right.
"Wow, Mike works a lot. Ray works a lot." How many days is your school open? One.
Now I cut it back to 6 days a week. But there
Okay.
was a
So
time when I was
somebody's
teaching
doing
7 days a
seven,
week.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I taught
anybody
seven
looking
days a
at you
week.
would say, yeah, anybody looking at you would say, "Wow, this Sensei Juan works a lot," but they don't see that you are absolutely in love with what you do, right? I
Right,
think
right,
more
right.
hard work, and I know you love what you do with your other occupation, but I know that you are totally in love with teaching as a sensei, teaching martial
Right,
arts,
right.
developing
Absolutely.
people, right?
Right, right. It's it brings us back to that topic of the paradoxes of success because it's funny when you read some books, they'll tell you if you're working hard, you're going about it wrong. And it's amazing because the hard work has to be in there. The time, the discipline, the dedication has to be in there. If you don't put that in there first, nothing will grow. You know what I'm saying? It's like a farmer. You got to plant. You got to before you even plant the seed, you got to treat the soil. They got to dig up the soil. They may add fertilizer to it. Back in the old days, they had to clear the fields from trees and rocks and all that. Then they could put the seed in, but they're not done. They got to go out there. They got to water that seed. They got to make sure some animal didn't come up and dig up the seed. Then they got to wait on the sun, on the rain, and all this. And then once it starts to grow, you got to take care of that. You really got to take care of it. I always say my business is my third child, is my baby. Okay. And
Mm.
right now it's a young toddler. For the first 10 years, it was a baby. I had to feed it, I had to clothe it, I had to take care of it when it got sick, because it got sick here and there. And now it's a toddler. So now it's walking around, it could hold its own bottle, it could tell me what it needs. But I still have to be sensitive to that. I have to be responsive to the needs of my business, where a lot of times, and this is one of the paradoxes, people open up a business and they hope that the business will take care of their needs first. And it doesn't work that way. You got to take care of the needs of the business first. And as that business grows into a teenager and into adult, then it'll be able to take care of you. And that's just, what I've learned.
Well, in sticking with this idea of the hard work, and again, excuse me, interestingly enough, Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich, said, if you think hard work is going to do it, oh man, you're mistaken, right? Bob Proctor, which was also in the Secret,
Right.
86
Yeah.
year old man. I just saw an interview with him. He was saying the same thing. Hey, listen, if you think hard work is going to do it, it isn't. But here's what I'm going to tell you. What can also be considered hard work is me finding the gap between where I am now and where I want to be, and
Right.
knowing, oh man, I need to pick up this skill. I need to learn this new
Right.
strategy.
Right.
I need to,
Right.
and that is hard work. That may be hard work because I'm growing into somebody new, somebody bigger, somebody
Right.
different. And but it's not necessarily hard work like we think about it in a traditional sense, right? But it's
Right.
it's
Right.
definitely hard work in the fact that, wow, in order for me to get to this point, I got to get through this area here, and I don't know what that area
Right.
is. That's all new stuff for me, right? It's
Right.
like,
Right.
like again, the correlation between the martial arts is when you reach a belt level, and now you got to get to the next belt level. So that means different things that you need to learn, different strategies, different fighting that you're going to
Right.
do,
Right.
right?
Right.
And in all those times, there's situations where it's going to be dangerous. It could be painful. It could be where, man, I got to pick up these new skills. How do I do that? I got no idea,
Right. Right.
right? So that's where the hard work, again, the paradox of success is that sometimes hard work is not what we envision it to be.
Right.
It's
Right.
a
Right.
simple idea of, I got to get to this next level.
No, absolutely. It's interesting that you brought up about that gap, and I think again that's where people fail at. Okay, where they started off and they're doing great, but since the world, as we noticed in 2020, there were so many things that change. Okay, and it took a lot of people by surprise. I think a lot of people listen. We wake up in the morning, the sun is there. We don't think about it. We always know that there's going to be 24 hours in a day. We take it for granted. We take gravity for granted. There's always going to be oxygen. So a lot of us in our businesses become complacent. We become comfortable with what we're doing because, again, it's just human nature to become comfortable and to get into habits, to think that the government is going to, take care of us. And we realize that this year, with all the restrictions that had to happen, with the closing downs of business, with people getting laid off, and the corporations changing how they're doing business now. If you don't develop the skills to take you from where you were to where you need to be to survive and to thrive, I'm not talking about just surviving, to thrive in 2021, you're going to be left behind. Okay. Now, again, considering everything the way this year went, there's going to be a lot of people out there who will blame the government, who are going to blame racism for it, or a million other things. But at the end of the day, it's your unwillingness to cross that gap, to put in the work that is required to develop those new skills. Because like the martial arts, when you're I'm going to say orange belt, the skill that you need from orange belt to be 3 belts above, it is so much different. It's so much higher. And you got to go through the training. You got to go through the disciplines. Like you're saying, it's going to be painful and it's going to be scary. And there's going to be things that you don't know that you must learn. Okay. But if you don't learn those skills, you can't, you're never going to get to that black belt level. All right. And it's funny because I always tell my students, when you get to black belt, that's when your serious training begins. Don't ever think that this is the end. This is just, you took your baby step to get to black belt. Now you got to take it a step further. And that's what, when you open up a business and you've been in business, let's say you get through those first 5 years, which are the most sensitive years for a business, because, you and I know most businesses fail within the first 5 years.
Right.
Once you hit that 5-year mark, you got to find a way to grow and you got to find a way to innovate. Like right now, the way I'm running my school, I had to eliminate some of the drills that I love to do that took me time to master, but because of the restrictions, I had to eliminate that. So I had to come up with different ways of teaching the same skill, but staying compliant with the new regulations. If I don't do that, I'm going to be out of business. And that's just reality. And it's nobody's to blame. It's my job to adapt. All right. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, very interesting, Sensei, that you say that, because I know firsthand the struggles that you went through just
Right.
to establish your school. But not only that, when 2020 came and everything was shut down, and now what? Now what do I do, right? I know you pivoted into starting a new venture or a new
Right. Right.
strategy or a new, I don't know what you want to call it, but you started, number one, using video, which
Right.
is very
Right.
good. You started, selling the oils and the scents
Right.
that you
Right.
sell,
Right.
right?
Right.
And that was a major shift. And I know, to a certain extent, it was a little bit painful and it was a little bit
Absolutely.
scary.
Yeah.
Wow, how do I do this? What do you got to say about that?
I say, it's funny because you know me, and me and technology don't always mix. We're like oil and water, but I had to learn. It was one of those things I had to learn, and I wanted to get my message out there for health. I wanted to create something on Facebook where I'm educating people about holistic alternatives that they can have, giving them the information to make choices. Because again, um, this pandemic has shown us that doctors are great. I'm not knocking them. Listen, I got a great doctor, but sometimes they don't always have the answers, and you have to look for answers elsewhere. All right, and if you don't take that initiative, you're going to be in trouble. So, being that this is something that I'm into, I started that. I wanted to go on and teach people, or at least make them aware that there's alternative choices that if they do their research, they can verify what I'm saying, scientifically, that it may help them. Okay. Or it may not, but it was a challenge because I'm not used to doing the computer, the video conferencing. But even at work, I had to become more computer savvy because all of our meetings now are held through computer. And again, this is what I'm saying, that even though it's uncomfortable, it's not my first choice on how to do things. But if I don't do it, 2021 is not going to be good for me. So I have to lay down the framework now so I can build on that. And again, that goes back to our topic of the paradoxes of success, that number one, you can't always expect that things are going to be the same. We hope that it is, but you always got to think, well, if something major happens, that the economy of the world changes, or the need for your product or service changes, what are you going to do then? How are you going to adapt? How are you going to recreate yourself or repackage yourself so you can be valuable in the workplace? And I think that's something a lot of people miss, that they feel, well, I'm a good brother, I'm a good son, I'm a good student, I got good, I got excellent grades, so I'm valuable in the marketplace. And you may not. Just because you're a good person does not mean you're valuable in the marketplace. And that's the cold hard reality, that that you have to understand your value as a person does not indicate your value in the marketplace, in the business market, in the marketplace. And you have to create something that's valuable for people, because you work hard for your money. I work hard for my money. When we spend it, we want to get value for it. If you cannot provide that, you're not going to survive. That's just one of those
Right.
things. Right? What do you think, Mike?
Yeah. Let me ask you this, man. For the person that put in the time, put in the effort, put in the money, put in the mental energy, for the person that did what everything that they thought was the right thing to do and still did not succeed, what do you tell them going into this new year? What do you say? What words of do you say? Do you say give up on that idea and start something new, or keep figuring it out, or what do you say in a situation like that? Because I
Right,
know firsthand you spent, you it was very tough for you in the beginning when you were opening up your school, and you faced
right,
problem
right,
after
right.
problem after problem, but yet you still kept your mind straight and still got it done. What was it that carried you through there?
So, um, I, I don't want to come out across self-righteous or holier than thou, because you know me, you know my past. It might, but I really think this was God's calling, and I think sometimes people miss that because we get caught up with a lot of things. And if you look at your life from since you was a kid, and you really look at a lot of things that have happened in your life, I know I put myself in situations that I couldn't have gotten out of if it wasn't God's help. And the way everything worked out for me to get my school going, that was the creator's hand. And I acknowledge that it wasn't me. There was a higher power behind this. So being that I acknowledge that, I feel an obligation to the creator to do my best and hang in there to make this work. Because if he's opened the doors for me, it's my job to step in through that door. He'll open the door, but he ain't gonna push me through that door. That's up to me. All right. Once
Mm.
I get to the other side, yeah, my belief is there's always gonna be challenges. All right. But I like what Billy Albrook says. If the dream, if you're pursuing a dream and you can accomplish it on your own, then you're not dreaming big enough. You got to pursue something that's going to challenge you, that's going to scare you, that's going to push you to that limit. So I would tell that person, listen, let's make sure that you're in the right place. Do you feel this is your calling? Or do you feel that you're pursuing this because society's definition of success is pushing you to do this? Okay. So if you're pursuing something that society is telling you, well, you should have the big car, you should have the big house, you should be the $1 million producer, but that's really not where your heart is at, sooner or later, that's going to fall down. Something's either your business is going to fail or your personal life is going to fail. But now, if this is your passion, if you can look back on your life and say, you know what, my life has been directed to do this, I'm going to tell you, stick in there, hang in there, tweak it, find out, study the marketplace. And this is something you and I were talking about. There's a lot of books out there and a lot of speeches would tell you, don't worry about what anybody thinks of you. And on the surface, that's great, great advice. Don't get me wrong. I believe in that. But at the same time, when you're talking about the marketplace, if you're selling a product or a service and nobody's purchasing that, you have to look at the image that you're bringing to the marketplace and see if that's something that people find trustworthy. Okay, because you may be
Mm.
presenting an image that the people in that area that you're trying to sell to may be turned off. Again, listen, some people are comfortable with guys with full beards. Some people are not. Some people are comfortable if you have your long hair, ripped up jeans. Some in certain marketplaces, they're gonna want you to be clean cut, shaved, have a tie. So you have to know who your audience is, and then adapt your approach to that. Okay. And sometimes also what I found is that, you see, I attract a certain type of student, a certain type of parent. Okay. If I try to attack, let's say, like a parent that would go to or Tiger Kim's, I'm not going to be successful with that. Okay. Because that type of student, that parent is not going to be comfortable in my environment that I've created. So you have to be aware of that. And yes, there are times when what the service that you're providing, maybe the marketplace is so flooded with the same service and you're presenting everything the same way, you don't stand out. So maybe you have to look at, I know you do a lot of marketing, you teach a lot of on YouTube and how to market. Maybe this person needs to market themselves a different way in order to be successful. What do you think? Does that make sense?
I just today, man, I was looking at a YouTube video about Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs,
Yeah,
as you
yeah,
know, is the right was the owner of or the founder actually of Apple Computers, and he was talking in in an auditorium with, I guess, people in his company, because he was really talking about the mission statement of Apple. But what I found interesting was that he had just a regular T-shirt,
right,
he had a pair of shorts on, and he had slippers on. He didn't even
right,
have shoes on. He
right.
had slippers on, and he's on stage. He's
Yeah,
on stage talking about the corporate mission. And hey, Apple is this and Apple is that, and everybody, they were all engaged in there. They were all, laughing at his little jokes and stuff like that. So to your statement there, that you got to see, you got to match yourself with your audience. That's 100% true. One of my mentors says you'll know how much money or how much trust you have in the marketplace by how much money you're making, right? Because if people are not buying what you're selling,
right,
there's a trust issue there. If you're selling
right,
something valuable and people are not buying it, then that means at some point they don't trust you, or they don't
right,
think you
right,
got the goods that they want, right?
right,
So
right.
very, very interesting. Now, I'm going to leave this here, but you talked about attraction, and that's something that we're going to hit next week in next week's topic, because we're going to talk about the mind and how the mind attracts things to us,
Right.
and we'll be brushing a little bit on the law of attraction and stuff like that. But how do you want to end this segment here?
I think, being that we're getting close to the new year, we're 4 weeks away, and there's a lot that happened. There's a lot that happened. But it was interesting. I have a friend. Her name is Nancy Fiano. She's a martial artist. I met her through Grandmaster Lee, and she had put on Facebook maybe about 4 or 5 months ago that if you didn't develop a new skill during this entire shutdown process through the time of the quarantine, you just wasted a bunch of months. All right. And I think everybody has to walk away with that we already understand that things can affect the marketplace unexpectedly. And the government is not always prepared to deal with it in the most effective way. So we have to prepare ourselves and say, you know what? This can happen again. How am I going to prepare myself financially and and make sure that I have a strong foundation in the marketplace so I not only survive but I can thrive. Okay. And my wife works in the city. I picked her up a couple of times over the past week, and the city, man, is not the same. There's a lot of businesses that have closed. There's not that congestion over there, which is great for traffic. Don't get me wrong, but I look at it and you know I sometimes feel that again, this was very unexpected, but I think that if people maybe 5 years ago would have been saying, you know what, let me prepare myself in the event of a disaster. I'm not thinking negative. I don't want that to happen, but just in case, let me be ready financially and educationally and with my career, that we would have been better off. But again, I think that how I don't depend on the government. or others to take care of you. We got to take control of our financial future, of our emotional health, our spiritual health, our physical health. We have to do the research for that and really say, you know what? I can't depend on the government taking care of me. And I can't blame them for my failures. I have to take control of this. And like what you said about that gap, we have to make the most of that gap. That gap exists everywhere, and we have to go from point A to point C. We got to travel through point B to get to point C, but we have to make that effort to learn. You know, I think that's the biggest thing. You know, learn, educate yourself.
Yeah, and you know what? That's the common theme, man. Um, uh, for I think everybody, you know, it boggles my mind that most people that finish a college education never pick up another book,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's mind-boggling to me that the average citizen in the United States, the average, reads one or less books a year. That means they
yeah.
started one or didn't even start. But if they started one, they ain't even finish it, right? That's
Right,
the
right.
average. While the average CEO reads 5 books a month, right? So they're constantly
Wow,
evolving,
wow.
constantly growing, constantly developing,
Right.
constantly getting bigger and better. And that's the thing, man. Everybody, you know, oh, I got my degree. So you stay plateau. And
Yeah,
that's the biggest mistake
yeah.
you could do. What you said is right. You shouldn't be, you know, oh my God, doom and gloom is coming and I gotta prepare. But you should always look to advance yourself. You should always look to get a
Right,
different skill,
right,
right? Because that's what's gonna
right.
make the difference when you gotta, you know, in martial arts, in Japanese martial arts, they got a term or a strategy called tai sabaki. You know, tai sabaki, right?
Right, right, right,
Uh,
right, right.
and that's where a technique is coming to you, a punch is coming to you, which we'll call a problem, right? That's a problem. It's
Right.
coming to hit me. And Tai Sabaki says, move out of the way, right?
Right.
Shift, just pivot. And that's what you got to do. That you got to be able to, like you, okay, my school is closed now. I don't know how long it's going to be closed, but
Right.
let me do something else. Okay, I'm going to do these videos on and start selling this other product.
Right.
That's
Right.
what the average person needs to do. But the average person is just definitely afraid of picking up something. You know, I don't think that they were afraid of picking up something. What they're afraid of is looking bad.
Right.
They're afraid of looking stupid. But the
Right.
fact of
Right.
the matter is, you look incredible when you go out there. And I'll tell you, I tell people all the time, you know, because I teach people how to do video marketing. And I say, you know what? If you mess up, then you mess up. That's it.
Right.
Don't worry about it. Just keep
Right.
going,
Right.
right?
Right.
And if you mess up big.
Yeah.
Mess up big so that way I'm laughing, right?
Right.
Make me laugh.
Right.
Don't worry about, oh, what if Mike laughs? No, no. Make Mike laugh. Make Mike laugh. Do something so bad that Mike laughs.
Right.
But
Right.
that is going to take you to looking better. It's going to take you to getting better. It's going to take you to
Right.
getting better. And it's that fear, which
Right.
really is a mental image that we create. That fear stops people from advancing. It stops
Right.
people from getting better. It stops people from trying something new. And that's the biggest mistake any one of us can do.
Yeah.
So, Sensei, thank you very much. Thank you
Absolutely.
for being part of this today. I appreciate it. Born to Win conversation, guys. This is episode 2, and we're looking forward. We're having a good time, and you know what? Hopefully, one person gets affected by this message. That's all
Right.
that we're
Right.
looking for, right?
Right. All right, Mike. Listen, you have a great night, and we just got to keep pumping it out there. All right.
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, man. Thank you for sharing your time with me.
All right. Have a good night, man.
Thank you.